Uh, Good evening. Today I'm going to share the case study of ESGPro Tech, which is a manufacturing company. Uh, and they manufacture energy efficient appliance, and they have their headquarters in North America, Europe, and Asia. And the key challenges what they face, and they face the challenges in supply chains on fossil fuel, and they have limited data availability in scope 3 areas. So we are going to see what are the things. Okay, first, um, I have taken the operation control as my organizational boundary, because this company uh, has many I mean many operations areas in different countries, and it has 100%. I believe it has 100% operation control in those areas. So I choose to prefer this operational control approach. And in their operational boundary, I have included scope 1, which is a direct emission, and scope 2, indirect emission, and scope 3, other indirect emissions. Uh, and the facilities included are facility A, B, and headquarters of North America, European office, and Asian suppliers.
We can't see the screen, so what is
Like,
icon?
how about now? Can you able to see me?
No.
The screen is
No?
not visible?
Your
No, sir.
screen only by host, and your shared screen can be seen only by the host and the co-host.
Oh, just a minute. Oh, that has. Okay, okay. Now it is done. Go ahead. Now everybody can see.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
sir. Sir, I have taken baseline year of 2024. Since whatever information they have given, they didn't mention about the year. I have taken so I have taken 2024 as the most recent and complete data, and the baseline emission for mm, 20, uh, 2024 from all the three scope is 3,19,288 metric ton carbon dioxide equivalent. So their interim goal is to reduce 30% by 2030. That is 95,786 metric ton carbon dioxide equivalent, and their I mean, by their target year is 2030. By that, they have to reduce 2,23,000. If they reduce 95,786 from 3,000 from 3,19,288, they will reach a target of 2,23,520 metric ton carbon dioxide equivalent by the year 2030. And they have a long term plan to achieve net zero by 2050. 2050. So this is the information they have given about the data for their scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions. First is natural the natural gas that they used in their facility 1. From that, the emission is 1,590 metric ton carbon dioxide from the diesel generator, which they used in their facility B, accounts for 48.24 metric ton carbon dioxide equivalent. And the fleet vehicles, nearly 100 trucks, 100 trucks account for 2,500 552.50 metric ton carbon dioxide equivalent. So their total scope 1 emission is 4,191. And from their scope 2 emission, first we are going to see about their electricity purchased in North American headquarters, which comes around 18,000, and the electricity purchased in their European office accounts for 1,500, and the electricity purchased in their Asian suppliers accounts for 14,000. So the total scope 2 emission is 33,500, and what I mean, the scope 3 items are from raw material purchasing, raw material purchasing and processing emits nearly 15,000, and the raw material transport by 200 trucks accounts for 17,016.70, and the employee commuting nearly 2,000 employees, 250 days. It accounts for 3,199.20, and the product distributions accounts for 6,381.25, and the product use phase, which has the highest emission, that accounts for 2,40,000. So the total scope 3 emission is 2,81,597. This is the visual representations of the emissions 1, 2, the scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions, and this is the visual representation of since we have taken 2024 as a baseline year, we have 3,19,288 metric ton carbon dioxide equivalent. We need to reduce this to 2,23,520 by the target year 2030 by 30%. So this is the this chart represents the ESGPro Tech manufacturing company's scope emission breakdown. Under scope 1, the fuel combustions and the fleet vehicle will come. In that, the fuel combustion account for 0.52%, and the fleet will accounts for 0.80%, and in scope 2 the electricity consumption, which is around 10.49%, and under scope 3, which is further divided into upstream and downstreams. In upstreams, we divide first raw material processing, which accounts for 4.7%, and the raw material transport which accounts for 5.3%, and the employee commuting is 1%. And in the downstream activity, we see product distributions account for 2%, and the product use phase, which is the highest, it accounts for 75.17%. We are now. I'm going to share what are the mitigation strategies I have developed for all these emissions. In scope emission. For scope 1 emission mitigations, which accounts for approximately 1.3% of the total emissions, they can upgrade to the energy efficient machineries, replacing the old equipment with high energy efficient system to reduce the process of fuel consumption, and shifting to the renewable energy or the alternative fuels. They can adopt to the biodiesels or the LNG for generators and the heavy equipment, which they use for nearly 5 days per month. uh, uh, prevent the refrigerant leakage. Implemented sealed refrigeration system and regular leak detection and staff training and the use of low uh, gl global warming potential refrigerants. In spite of the high global uh, in spite of high refrigerant and the electrification of their fleet vehicles, and they can adopt this transition to the hybrid or electrical vehicle in the phase or in the phase to reduce the diesel usage. And the mitigation strategies for scope 2 mitigations are, and scope 2 accounts for nearly 10.49% of the total emission. So what are the mitigation steps we can follow means energy efficient building upgrades. We can implement passive cooling, efficient HVAC systems and thermal insulation for all the facilities, and adopt a geothermal heating and cooling system, installing a geothermal heat pump which offer high energy, low maintenance, and it gives a lifespan of 50 years. So third step is on-site renewable energy production. They can install a solar photovoltaic panels on facilities, rooftops, or car park to partially meet their electricity demand with clean energy. And then ninth, the mitigation steps for the scope 3, which accounts nearly 88.20% of the total emissions. They can go for this low carbon and recycled material. In spite of using the, fresh one, they can go for this recycled and the source which has low embedded carbon materials like a recycled material or biodegradable components. And they can go for this localized sourcing to reduce the transport related emission by for this localized sourcing. And the carbon capture and utilization using a microalgae. They can the whatever in their emissions, so many greenhouse gases will be released. They can capture this carbon dioxide, and with the help that they can use this carbon dioxide to to cultivate microalgae which absorb these carbon dioxide, and they will increase in size. They can extract this biomass, and from this biomass they can produce the biodiesels which will be utilized helpful for to run their diesel generators and to meet some of their electricity needs. And a sustainable employee commuting program, they can provide electric shuttle buses and promote carpooling and offer incentives for the employees to use EV or a public transit. Green logistic and distribution, they can engage with the third party logistic providers with a certified green fleet and fluent efficient routing and GHG monitoring. And smart IoT enabled appliance, design products with the Internet of Things technology to optimize the energy used during the customer operations. And product compatibility with clean energy, develop appliance that run on the DC power, solar panel or battery storage, such as solar powered refrigerators and inverters. Since why I have said these the last two steps, because nearly 80% of 75% of their emissions come from the products used. So if they adapt these these technologies, I believe like they can they can reduce the emission from their product use. So if the business continues as usual, the emission projection is if we expect 5% annual growth by 2030, then the emission would reaches 4 lakh 49,759 metric ton carbon dioxide equivalent by 2030. In order to reach its goal, it should reduce 19,045 metric ton carbon dioxide per year. Finally, monitoring and tracking. Use GHG tracking softwares to monitor the emission reduction progress annually and conduct third-party audits to validate the emission data and outcomes and report transparently through CDP and GRI. That's it, sir.
Thank you very much, Bala Vijay. I think you have covered it exhaustively, and I appreciate that. And it covers most of the point, which has been detailed in the 9-pager case study. How did you do? So everyone go ahead and open peer review sheet, which has been posted in chat box, and try to rate her. I will explain what exactly is rating. There are 5 rating points, which everybody will be rating to each other. First is about conceptual understanding of GHG protocol and its scope. What is her learning by seeing this presentation? You see, it is basic, fair, average, poor, and excellent. And specifically this poor, just ignore it. It is good there. It's not poor. Yeah. Second matrix is application of methodology and tools which she has used to present the case. Did she use that 5 principles? Did she use the 5 step of ESGPro Mastery Institute? That's what you have to rate for. Third is analytical and mitigation planning skill. Did she really brought out something which you are impressed with? And don't judge with your own performance here. Just give a honest feedback to the person who is presenting. Bias may kick in. That's why I put anonymous. So nobody will know who has rated what. So be honest and rate it. And then engagement and critical thinking during the session. So last 9 days, her contribution, her questions, how you rate them. And finally, today's assessment. Overall, what is your feeling? Ignore poor. That's a mistake there. It is actually good. And rating points, everybody is clear. Go ahead and submit it. And I am submitting to Bala Vijay, and answers will be given to you at the end of the session. Don't worry.
Which I could provide. To start with, the calculations, yeah, in natural gas, the total needed is 1590 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalents. For diesel generators, the total is for 48.24. One second.
Very good.
Yeah. For fleet vehicles with total trucks of 100 and the distance, so the total, and with fuel efficiency calculated, the total comes to 2552.5 tons. For the purchase energy, North America and European has to be calculated. And of course, sorry, all three will be calculated separately. And it's 18,000, 1,500, and 14,000 respectively. Raw materials for the Asian people have already given the exact values, so that's 15,000. And for raw material, the transport, base, it's sorry, it comes to 17,016 tons of CO2. For employee commuting, I understand it was in miles, and I realized it later that the emission factor was in um, um, I'm sorry. Yeah. It came to 1,600 tons CO2, and for product distribution it was 638. For product use it was 240,000 tons of CO2. So total of scope 1 was 4190 tons. For scope 2 was 33,500 tons, and scope 3 was 274,255 tons of carbon equivalent. Total emissions was 11,945.7 for metric tons. Now, in terms of the gaps of data, which they already mentioned, that they had a difficult time getting the scope 3 data. And of course, it was incomplete, and efforts had to be made to collect data from all operational areas individually. And scope day 2 data needs to be more very location specific for maximum accuracy. And the overall data is, of course, very inconsistent and sporadically available. So it has to be, and also very generic in nature. I mean, if they could get more supplier specific data, if possible, it would have been better. Um, and for the baseline, of course, we would take this year itself as it would be the worst case scenario. And for the 230 goal specifically, it's a shorter time. And also the previous data is not mentioned and probably not available. So this is the one we can take. Interim and long-term goals I could not really work on. The business as usual emission projection for 2030, it will be about 6 years ahead. So the total emissions of 2023-24 and into 6 times 5% will go to 418,037.13 metric tons. And the goal is to by 2030 to reach 30% of emission reduction of the base year. So 70% of 2024 emissions would be 218,362. And annual reduction rate to reach goal of 30% reduction by 2030 is 1,99,675 divided by 6. It will be 33,279.185 tons of CO2 per year reduction needed to be able to reach this goal. The mitigation plan would be, of course, since it's in energy appliance an appliance making company, the most important thing would be like, to reduce their own usage of energy because it'd be required for production as well. So for that, they would have to invest in renewable energy sources initially to reduce scope 2 emissions. They would also have to educate their suppliers about using renewable energy in their operations and maybe help them with funding for the same. They need to initiate a recycling program, which will not only help them in reducing the emissions of products, overall and during end of life specifically, um, and also reduce emissions of raw material which which they can reuse. And even though the other raw materials should be more sustainably sourced and also from local suppliers as much as possible, which will not only reduce the overall production emissions but also reduce the distance in terms of logistics. So less of fuel use, etc. Also, in terms of the vehicles used for logistics, switching to electric vehicles was for supply chain would be a much better strategy, which would reduce the scope 3 emissions immensely in the long run. That's all I could work on, sir.
Okay, not bad. At least you made an effort. And I know today you had a puja and everything, and still you got time to attend this and present it. Thank you very much doing that. And mitigation actions also, it's there, but I think you could have done much better than this if you could have got time.
Yeah.
Team, go ahead, use the same link. You will get another prompt now below that.
Okay. So we started off. So I started off like using the 5-step this model. So during the boot camp of 2 days, sir had shared with us certain formats. So what I really did was to play around with that particular format. So the first thing, like if you see in the particular format, it is clearly asking whether this inventory has been verified and accredited by a third party. So in this case, I say it is no. So verification by the third party has not been done. So the date of verification and so as to who is the verifier and what is his email ID, phone address. So I have stated as not applicable. So going to step 1. So I started to use the same format, 30 shared. So as part of the step 1 is we define that organizational boundaries. So in this case, I have like assumed that it will be a sort of this operational a thing, because we have the financial controls, we have this equity share, and we have this operational controls. But in this particular case study, there was no clarity so as to whether they are having, because they have the plants in 12 different places. So something is in Europe, somebody is in this Asia, and something is also in part of the North America. So as a result of which, I clearly said that using that operational control approach most common and aligns with the management control over GHG relevant activities, as operations are spread across 12 countries, and it's also a multinational this organization. So as far as these inclusions are concerned, it clearly says that either all facility, all operations, and all emission sources has been excluded from this inventory. So to this I say yes, because so in this I made an assumption that none of the things that we are talking about as far as these operations or as far as the facilities or the actual emission sources, because we have the three scope 1, scope 2, scope 3, and we are clearly stating that all the scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 has been clearly defined. So as was the reporting period by this inventory, I am taking from 1st of January. So it is almost as we do this audit for this IFRS. So I am taking the same uh, so now coming to these operational boundaries, so it is asking, are scope 3 emissions included in this inventory? I said yes, scope 3 is also included in the inventory, but I also said that subject to limited details made available, because we see the scope 3 emissions forms 85% or it take close to 88% of the total emissions that is getting like is emitted, but we don't have so much of information. The reliability of information that we are getting in this study is not clear. And also it says, if yes, which types of activities are included in scope 3 emissions. Of course, in this particular thing, I have classified the whole thing into scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3, and what are the different kinds of activities that are like included under each of the scopes. And of course, we have this optional information which says that kindly list all these entities or facilities over which reporting company has equity share, the financial or this operational controls. So I've stated here it is ESG and protect manufacturing, and also I say that it covers North America, Europe, and Asia. And it says, does the reporting company have this operational control? I say it is yes. Now, like like I am part of the chief sustainability department, so I am clearly like making this announcement so as to what all is included under scope 1, what all is included in scope 2 and scope 3, because before we start to write on any reports, so we have to have a clarity, because scope 3 includes all upstream, downstream activities. Scope 2 includes all purchase activities. Say in this case we have this electricity and also we have this gas, and all direct emissions from this organization is classified under diesel and the fleet for which it is owning. So I have defined that so in the form of a diagram. So I also took the calculation format, so from there, so where I have clearly calculated the scope 1 emission, the scope 2 emission, and scope 3 emission. But in that case, scope 3 emission, it shows as this optional, but with this availability of information, I was able to work back. And also it is asking us to define the base year, which I said 2024. So clarification of company determined policy for making baseline emissions reclassification. In this case, I say as previous year informations are available, hence 2024 is taken as a base year. So again, they are asking base year emissions factors and other scope, which is the same. Then we also have a format which classifies, which is asking us to classify direct emission from stationary combustion and direct emission from like mobile equipment. So that also I have classified, and I have like inputted in this particular format. So as far as the case study is concerned, so I found certain gaps in the information that we have. Say for example, the first of it says which I say is no clear clarity on the baseline, so which is clearly not helping us to calculate. Say for example, if the base year has been 2022 and now we are in 2024 or 25, then he will be able to show progress. But in this case study, it says that it is up to you to choose whether you can choose 2022, 2023, or 2024. So I found certain kind of ambiguity there. And also there is no clarity on these locations and extent of controls the actual headquarter is having. okay, because they have their operations in different parts over 12 locations. So there is no clarity whether they have a sort of equity share or they have financial. And there is also no clarity on the scope 3 emission data shared, as we need proper and accurate data. And also getting outside assurance on the data produced could have clearly added value to the report and also for the stakeholders. And one more thing that I see, especially in case of this manufacture, waste from operations is an important thing which is classified under scope 3. But in this case, I found that waste from operation has not been clearly defined. And also, since the company is spread across the globe, because in 12 areas, business travel by board members or employee is something which I don't see in that particular like information that has been shared. And also we have this end of life disposal is another important thing that we need to see, because in case of all this manufacturing, there has to be like end of life, because if you have to do this LCA, like it has to be from the sort of your gate to the cradle. So that information is not available, so as a result of which we are not clear so as to how they do their actual disposal, and recycle operations activities are also not clearly defined. So we are clear that the scope 3 this emission what they are speaking of is not like up to date. Of course, I have also stated some of the sort of improvements what they can do. So especially on the scope 3 emissions, I think since it is outsourced, I think they should take sort of live information from this vendor. And external assurance, of course, we know is not mandatory, but it is, suppose if they're going to do it, yes, I feel it will be somewhat important. This end of life has to be clearly defined. So that is something that they have to see out. And also the sort of traveling what they do, like especially in these flights, so that they may have to pick up maybe from the like bills, or they can speak to these airlines to have the information. So some of the steps what I said to improve was of course on this energy efficiency projects, like they can think of this LED, or they also have to go for something like this HV, this AC upgrades. So fleet, this electrification is something which I see. And renewable energy is something that has to be stressed upon, because they can go for this online solar, or they can also go for like green power purchase. Then the fourth is on this employment engagement, where I said carpooling and remote work options can also be placed. Haste reduction is something which I don't see uh, um, as a sort of information so as to how they are going to deal with it. And so I also feel that it could be a place where they can look into. And supply engagement is something which they have to give importance, because they may have to ask all the suppliers to showcase their scope 1 and scope 2 like disclosures. Process optimization, because it is a sort of the manufacturing, so process this optimization is something. And they can also do some kind of like plugging of any kind of delays and other things, breakdowns of these equipments, all these things can be seen. And process optimization is something which they can also like look out. So I say a target, so 50% maybe the fleet that can be like electrified by 2030. So there'll be a sort of this ROI also. So as a result of which they will be able to have reduced cost of this maintenance, and also on the fuel. So as for the scope 2 is concerned, so because it is all this electricity, so they may have to go for this on-site renewable this energy, and also they have to have some kind of like audits, because it's a sort of plants, so they can have these audits from being done by third party to daily like improve their sort of this efficiency in their usage. And green power is something which I also speak about. So as far as the scope 3 emissions are concerned, which are indirect, so I say that they have to give thrust to the waste management. And on the transportation side, I feel so I have a goal of around 40% of all, maybe speak about top 10 suppliers or maybe top 5 suppliers. and they be asked to report on their carbon emissions on scope 1 and scope 2. Then further action points, what I say is maybe have a GHG accounting system to really track your actual emissions. Then maybe have certain kind of incentive structures for this management so that they are able to give some kind of importance to these emissions. And the third one is I'm talking about employee training, which is very, very important. Maybe say when they close their office at 6 o'clock, these employees will have to be clearly told that all the fans and this air conditioning lights and all will have to be switched off. And third party assurance is something which I clearly say that which will bring certain kind of like sustainability and also certain kind of like relevance to them in the marketplace. That's all, sir.
Okay, great. Good stuff, Ravi. Thank you very much to showcasing something with the style of GHG protocol template.
Yeah, but only thing I was planning to do some kind of like diagrammatic representation on which I was not able to do. Say for example, how much is scope 1 and how much is scope 2, scope 3 through a small diagram which I was not able to showcase.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But still, it is justifiable. You could have done better. Everybody can do better. But I think at least on conceptual wise, it was there as of others. Okay, so let's go to the next person. Who is next? I believe it will be Shivangi now. Are you ready, Shivangi? Can you start your camera, introduce
Yes,
yourself, and take off from here?
yes, sir. So, hello everyone. I'm Shivangi. As I was saying that I was not able to introduce myself, so I'll just take 2 seconds to do that. I am living in Delhi as of now, but I'm from Lucknow. And from past 6 months, I am working as a sustainability associate in a firm. Before that, I was preparing for UPSC. So my journey for sustainability is quite new, but it is very interesting. And I got to learn a lot from Sir and everyone else from the past few days. So I'll just stop right here and I'll start with the presentation because we have a time crunch and all.
Indeed.
So I'll just shut down my video for now
Yes.
and then I'll open it again. Yeah. Is my screen visible, sir?
Yes. Just put it full screen and you can go ahead.
Yes. So we all are presenting for the same case study, but I think from the past few presentations that I have seen, we all have presented it in a different way. So I'm hoping to continue the same practice. So I'll start with the overview of the company, which was already given to us in the case study. So ESG Tech Manufacturing is a multinational company, and they specialize in energy efficient appliances. They have decent global presence in 12 countries, and they have also committed to international climate goals by achieving net zero emission by 2050. So I have started the presentation with the 5-step approach that was taught to us in the classes. So I started by setting the boundary. For the geographical boundary, I have put it based on the emission that was given to us in the case study. So 80% of the emission was having from North America, after that Europe, and then Asia. For organizational boundary, I have chosen the operational control approach because I'm assuming that ESG Tech will account for the 100% emission from the operations. I mean, they are controlling the operations. Along with that, we also have no clue about the franchisee or the financial insights. So it is the only safer option to choose operational control approach for organizational boundary. For operational boundary, we have all the scopes included: scope 1, direct emission, 2 and 3 as indirect emissions. Moving forward, So I would like to take some time here on this slide because I was particularly a bit confused with the scope 2 emissions. Scope 1 was pretty clear because it was coming from the direct emission from the owned and controlled sources. As you can see, natural gas at facility A, diesel generator at facility B, and fleet of delivery trucks, which I'm assuming it is company owned. For scope 2, we had purchased electricity from the headquarters, which is in North America, and then in European offices. However, I was a bit confused with the Asian suppliers electricity because I was thinking if I would put it under scope 2 emission, then I may have to put the raw material processing under scope 1 emission. So I have chosen to put the Asian supplier electricity as a supplier specific data for scope 3 emission. So we have the scope 3 emission as raw material processing from Asia, electricity purchase from Asian suppliers, raw material transport, employee commute, product distribution by third party, and product use by consumers. Moving forward, this is a summary of the emissions. My calculations might be a bit different since I have chosen uh, Asian suppliers. I have put them under scope 3. So this is the total summary, and based on that, this is a small diagram representing the percentage of scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions uh, being emitted by the company. A detailed calculation emission is present under this link, which I will be presenting by the end of the presentation. Moving forward, this is a breakdown of all the emission. As we can see, most of the emission is coming from product use, and then it is from the electricity and then raw material transport. So this is the entire breakdown. I will stop here for a second so that the breakdown is visible to everyone. Moving forward, now next is the baseline and target setting. So everyone just, I mean, whatever the reasons were, but we have to choose 2024. The reasons were, I mean, as my fellow mates told, that this is the only data that we have, and it will reduce the chances of error and assumptions. So it is the safest approach to assume 2024 as the baseline year. And because we have 2024 as baseline year, we can easily calculate the baseline emission. And based on that, I know Sir Ravi sir said that it is maybe a drawback, but I think if we have the data, we can decide the mitigation strategy and set the targets accordingly because we have a better, more concrete data as of now. The company has already committed to net zero by 2050 and 30% reduction by 2030. Here is a small table showing the year and the target emission and the reduction percentage. So by 2030, the emission should be 30% less, that is 218,362.02 metric tons carbon dioxide equivalent. And by 2050, the company is planning to reduce their emissions close to zero. Moving forward, this is the entire BAU emission projection and calculation. I will the BAU scenario is a scenario under which we are assuming that the company, if it is not working on any mitigation strategy, how the emission will proceed. So we were already given the emissions will increase by 5% annually if there are no mitigation strategies in place and if there are no mitigation efforts are made. Based on that, I have used the compound growth formula to calculate the projected emission from 2024 to 2030. So it will be around 418 to 74.3 metric tons carbon dioxide equivalent if we are not using any mitigation strategy. And the emission reduction required to meet the target based on the BAU value is 199,912.3 metric tons carbon dioxide equivalent. So everything is summarized in this small chart. And now I'll move forward. So now we have come to the last part of the presentation, that is the mitigation plan. I mean, there are a lot of gaps, but we have to come to the mitigation strategy based on whatever data we have. So, I mean, I know most of the emission was coming from the product lives, like product emissions, but I have not used it in my mitigation strategy because I think it is already making energy efficient product, and there are other ways which can be used more efficiently to reduce the carbon emission. First one is fleet electrification. So the diesel trucks can be replaced with electric vehicles gradually. Why I am focusing on gradually, because this is not, there are around 100 trucks. So it is not possible to replace all of them together. But since we have the short-term target, like interim target and then long-term target, we can move to this towards this electrification process gradually. Second is the facility fuel switch. Even though the emission from the diesel generator was not very much as compared to the emission from other things, but this is the thing that we can control. It is under scope 1 emission. So the company can switch from natural gas to electric heat pumps, that to electricity being generated from renewable energy, electricity or biogas at facility A, because the generator was mentioned at facility A. Then the backup power can be replaced from solar battery backup to or green hydrogen fuel based system. They can also do one thing. They can the energy that the electricity that they purchase, they can reduce the emission there by signing power purchase agreements or wind solar energy for all facilities, and they can gradually do that. Then another emission was coming from employee commute. So what they can do there is that they can encourage their employees to for carpooling, for cycling, and they can also introduce a culture like 2 day office work, and the rest day their employees can work from home. As we can see, most of the companies are using these kind of strategies nowadays. Uh, Another thing is internal carbon pricing. So this is what we were taught, like in the Microsoft sustainability report, we were told that they are taxing their departments for, they are putting a kind of carbon tax in their departments based on the emission that they are generating. So a similar approach this company can also use to derive their departments for favoring decisions in low emission options. Other thing that can be done is circular economy initiatives. So they can initiate something like a take back program, or they can use recycled materials for their products. I mean, yeah, they can use, they can basically focus on the take back programs like most of the companies are doing these days. Moving forward, they can, for the logistics, they can use greener options. For instance, from raw material and product transport, they can switch to lower emission modes like railways or sea. And at the time of onboarding third-party distributors, they can put some kind of specific clause that can encourage the third-party distributors to move toward environmentally sustainable practices. Now, the last two mitigation plans are specifically focused on North America, because most of the emission was coming from North America. Almost 80% emission was coming from that side. So they can choose the local carbon offsetting projects, like they can invest in afforestation, soil carbon, or regenerative agriculture. They can purchase nature-based solution credits verified by American Carbon Registry. Other thing is that there is an act uh, called Inflation Reduction Act. It was passed in 2022. And as of now, the act has invested almost $350 billion in the clean energy projects in the private firms. So this is also one thing that they can choose. So that's all from my end. And thank you for listening.
Good job, Jan, Sivangi. Of course, the rationalization was good. And I think you have covered most of the point with putting some scientific way to approach towards their net zero targets. Okay, so with
Thank
that,
you, sir.
let's go to somebody else and people go ahead. And now it's a time to vote for Shivangi. So everyone, please go ahead and rate her and keep the rating open.
So I am going to present the GHG carbon accounting and mitigation plan leading to net zero pathways for ESGPro Tech Manufacturing Incorporation. First of all, a very brief profile of the company. It is a multinational company engaging in manufacturing of energy efficient appliances. It operates in 12 countries spreading over North America, Europe, and Asia with a viable network of global supply chain. The majority of the business operation facilities are located at North America, followed by Europe and Asia. Now the company is committed to comply with Paris climate goals and set a target to achieve net zero by 2050 with an interim target of 30% reduction in emission by 2030. The major challenges to the company are excessive dependence on fossil fuel, unorganized supply chain, and lack of data to support carbon accounting program. However, in order to achieve the net zero status, a comprehensive GHG management plan has been formulated using the 5 steps model for GHG carbon accounting. The 5 steps model of carbon accounting is as follows. First of one, setting up organizational and operational boundaries. Number 2, GHG emission calculation. 3, baseline determination, and based on that, a measurable target setting. Number 4, business as usual emission projection. And the last one is mitigation plan for reducing emission across all scopes. So let us explain the step 1, organizational and operational boundaries. Since the legal structure of the different units located at different countries are not mentioned here, therefore we made an assumption that all the operations across the globe are group companies or wholly subsidiary, and ETMI, the reporting company, possesses full ownership and financial control of operations. Then 100% emissions have been accounted for and reported by the reporting company, irrespective of control approaches, whether it is operational or financial approaches. On the basis of sustainability commitment, the company has decided that Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3 categories will be accounted for its operations. The company will account and report emissions, all the 7 GHGs gases collectively in carbon dioxide equivalent unit. Now we proceed further, step 2, the emission calculations. First of all, the identification of emission sources under the Scope 1 and corresponding emission calculation. Under Scope 1, the main sources are the first one is consumption of natural gas, which accounts for 1,590 carbon dioxide tons carbon dioxide equivalent per year. The details of the calculations, I think, are clearly visible. So you can check the calculations also. And second source was consumption of diesel generators, which accounts for 8.04 tons carbon dioxide equivalent per year. Here I want to say that actual consumption for 5 days in every month should be counted for accurate measurement. Here is the average data is given. So we have no choice, we have to use those data. And number 3 is company-owned fleet vehicles that account for 2,552.5 metric tons carbon dioxide equivalent per year. Here, here also I want to say that fuel-based method is preferred and more accurate. Also, type of fuel is not mentioned, whether it is petrol or diesel or any other fuel. So the total scope 1 emission, GHG emission per year, it is coming 4,150.54 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. Next, scope 2 emission calculations across the geographical operations. First region I have taken that North America headquarter, whether the purchased electricity account for 18,000 tons carbon dioxide equivalent per year, and the European offices accounts for due to purchased electricity, it is coming 1,500 tons carbon dioxide equivalent per year. And for Asian suppliers, I excluded that part because it is not coming under the scope 2 because they are the suppliers. So the reporting company ESGPro Manufacturing, they have not directly control over the purchased electricity of the Asian suppliers. So it is not relevant to the scope 2 emission of the ETMI. And that's why I have excluded this emission part. So the total greenhouse gas emission under scope 2 per year, it is coming 19,500 tons carbon dioxide equivalent per year. Then it is scope 3 emissions, sources and calculations. First one, raw material processing from Asian supplier, their direct value that is given, and that is 15,000 tons carbon dioxide equivalent per year. Next one is raw material transport. Here it is assumed that vehicles are not owned by the company. There are so many gaps in the report. So it is one of the gaps I have found and encountered. So here I assume that vehicles are not owned by the company. So it is coming under the scope 3. And the emission coming is 17,017 metric tons carbon dioxide equivalent per year. Then employee commuting. Here also the value coming is 1,600 tons carbon dioxide equivalent per year. Here also data are insufficient. It is assumed that average round trip data is per employee basis. It is not mentioned here, but if we not consider this, then the whole calculation is, cannot be done, I think. So that is why I have taken these assumptions. Then product distribution, it is coming 638 tons carbon dioxide equivalent per year. And then the product use, the huge quantity of GHG emissions is coming. It's 2,74,255 tons carbon dioxide equivalent per year. Now, here I want to say that here the emission depends on the expected usage pattern and life cycle of the product. I think more secondary research is needed in this area for data accuracy and region-specific grit factor preferred for accurate measurement, because these product, total number of products here it is given, it is covers all the regions, that is North America, Europe, and Asia. So here is average grit emission factor is given. It may happen that if we consider the regional specific grit factor, the value may not so high like that. And it is seen that 90% of the scope 3 emission contributed by the product use category. So this is a very unique part of the GHG accounting of this company. And step 3, baseline and target setting. The year 2024 has been selected as the base year for emission, as the recent data are expected to be available. That is why I have taken the recent year, the 2000, just the previous year, 2024, as the baseline. And interim targets, we have put some interim targets. 70% reduction of scope 2 emission by introducing renewable energy sources instead of fossil fuels by 2030, and 50% reduction of scope 1 emission by increasing energy efficiency of machines by 2030. But under scope 3, I have given only 10% reduction of scope 3 emission by finding out alternative green suppliers in Asia and optimizing the raw material transport and employee commuting system. I have given 10% because 90%, if you see the previous table, that 90% of the scope 3 emissions coming under the product use. So the left 10% we can reduce and make a target 10% reduction. And long-term reduction targets, 90% reduction of scope 2 emissions and 70% reduction of scope 1 emission by 2050. And energy efficiency of the appliances to be enhanced by research and development department of the company, reporting company ETMI. Otherwise, they cannot reduce significantly the scope 3 emission. And I think this is the major hurdle for their net zero achievement. And if they cannot control the product use category, they cannot achieve net zero status. They can achieve net zero status covering only the scope 1 and scope 2 emission. They have to exclude the scope 3 emission from their reporting boundary or operational boundary. Then business as usual emission projection. The baseline emission, including scope 1, 2, and 3, it is coming 2,97,905 tons. Annual increase 5%, and the number of years 6. I have set the target reference year is 2030. So according to the compound interest growth rate formula, the projected emission level in the year of 2030, it is coming 3,99,221 tons. If 30% reduction occurs from baseline, then the emission in 2030, it is coming 2,08,533.5 tons. Therefore, within 6 years, they have to reduce the emission is 31,781.25 tons per year. Here it is the detailed calculation. You can, I am enlarging the screen so that you can follow the calculations. They have to reduce per year 31,781.25 tons carbon dioxide equivalent. Then it is coming mitigation plan, step 5 mitigation plan. Transforming to renewable energy such as solar power, wind power, hydropower, biomass power. I have given biomass power because they have operations in Asia, and in Asia, biomass are very much available in huge quantity. So biomass power can be included, etc. for scope 2 reduction. And then upgradation of technology of the infrastructure and machines like fuel switchover, change in boiler technology, etc. to reduce scope 1 emission. Then optimization of travel plan searching out green suppliers, raw material procurement from nearby suppliers are the steps to be taken to reduce scope 3 emission. And they can invest on nature-based carbon offset projects like afforestation or reforestation, LUCA programs, that is land use change and forestry programs. They as well as they can adopt carbon storage use and storage facilities, CCUS, to offset GHG emissions, and investment on innovation of energy efficient appliances consuming low electricity is the need of the hour to control scope 3 emission. Unless they can control the scope 3 emission, I think they cannot achieve net zero status, covering all the category of emissions, scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. And that's it. But I want to say that uh, I have time constraint. That is, I cannot prepare an ornamental report. Just very simple a PDF I have prepared. And monitoring part, I have not written. But one thing I want to mention it that there is a DMRV system, digitally monitoring, reporting, and verification system. Now this system is available in India also to monitor the real-time carbon dioxide or GHG emissions, to track and monitor the carbon leakage from the carbon removal projects. So they can go for these softwares for the monitoring part. That's all. Thank you very much for listening me.
Thank you, Somnathji. Thank you. It was, even though it was a flat presentation, but the material was equally good and quite innovative as well. So, and the way you emphasize certain things, of course, your teaching capability helps you there, and that made it more engaging. So, thank you. Appreciate that.
Sir, can I go next, please?
Yes, Sanchika, you can go next, please.
Sorry for it being, no, actually, I'm not sorry for it being pink, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead with it. So, we're gonna discuss the strategic net zero pathway for ESGPro Tech Manufacturing Incorporation. Sir, can you go to the next slide? I have followed the 5 principles and the 5 steps that we need to follow. I've kept in mind of following the RCCTA, which is responsive, completeness, consistency, transparency, and accuracy. I've tried it to the best of my knowledge to keep it there, but here it goes. So, step one for any GHG calculation or scope emission calculation would be defining organizational boundaries. Like everybody else as well, I have also taken operational control approach rather than the equity approach. Operational control because the company has operational control over all the firms across all the continents. ETMI accounts for 100% of emissions from all entities, subsidiaries, and operations, over which it has operational control, irrespective of the equity ownership. Moving on. Now, here we see that all manufacturing facilities, offices, so this is basically me defining the it on a geographical level, that as we can see that it includes sites in North America, Europe, and Asia, where North America you can expect 80% emissions. From Europe, you have 15% emissions, and from Asia, you have 5% emissions. And they have broadly categorized scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 as well in the case study that Sir had presented. When we say when we're defining the operational boundary, I would also like to say that I have included all manufacturing facilities, offices, distribution center, all those that are under the operational control of the entity. And it also includes all subsidiaries, joint ventures, business units, where it can enforce environmental and operational policies. So, can we go on to the next one? All right, moving on to the next slide, which is, I think, the crux of every um, carbon accounting thing. You can't measure what you can't quantify. So, in order for that, we quantified the emissions given to us in scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. And the units were as follow. For scope 1, we can see that we have 4,190 metric tons CO2e. For scope 2, we have 19,000. And for scope 3, which accounts for majority, around 90% of the emissions, is around 288,254 metric tons carbon carbon oxide equivalents. All right, so next slide. All right. If the emission factors were given to us in the case study, but in case the emission factors are not given, we can always refer to USEA, DEFRA, and GHG protocol websites for the emission factors. And the basic calculation was activity data into the emission factors, which would give us the scope. Now, moving on to step 3. Sorry for that noise. Moving on to step 3, which is baseline and target setting. So now here, there was a lot of ambiguity in terms of what baseline to take. And since nothing was defined and it was on my leverage to take 22, 23, or 24, I chose 24. Why? Because it has the most current operational practices, data, technology use, supply chain dynamics that are available. And also, if there are any mitigation factors or any new changes that the company must have taken in order to cut down its emission in 22 or 23, those should reflect here in 2024. So my reason for taking 2024 is this. Now, coming down, so total emissions from 2024 is basically equal to 3 lakhs 11,945 metric tons CO2 equivalent, which is nothing but a addition of scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 done in the previous slide. Now, we have set an interim target of 30% reduction by 2030. That gives us 6 years to reach this reduction target of 30%. Now, the calculation that I've done is basically I've just subtracted the reduction factor, which gives me this amount of 2,18,362. And over this, I've divided this by 6 years, which is over a period of 6 years, I need to reduce per year 15,597 to reach the target of 30% reduction by 2030. The next slide, please. Okay, going on to step number 4. Here we see that we, like any other business, every business would obviously have accounted for emissions which are not accounted for, or emissions that are bound to happen or increase annually. So we've factored in 5% emissions annual increase, and with which our projections slightly increase, as we can see here. So next slide, please. All right, I forgot to mention that our net zero target is also 2050. So in order to be able to reach by 2050, we need to make sure that we fulfill our interim targets and we are online given our increase in annual emissions of 5% as well. But we need to make sure that we are on target to reach our net zero goal. Now, how does that happen? For us to reach our net zero target, we need to have and follow some mitigation strategies. Now, what our mitigation plan should be? So basically, I've divided into 3 scopes. And so just suggestions of how and where we can reduce scope wise our emissions. So scope 1, basically we can replace natural gas boilers with electric heat pumps, biomass facility, Then we can also replace battery storage systems, solar PV, biofuels here, and then we can replace diesel delivery trucks with electric vehicles. Moving on, for transition, for scope 2, we can transition to 100% renewable energy, renewable electricity, basically through RECs or PPAs for our headquarters and the European offices. And also, we could install rooftop solar facilities at our Asian offices as well. For scope 3, we have to incentivize use of low carbon material. We can partner with transport providers for biofuels, EV trucks. We can promote carpooling, or also maybe, as someone suggested, we could hire a third party company that has its electric vehicle for carpooling that has a good accounting system where it can account for its emissions as well, but also provide us services. We can use energy efficient components for product design, and we can also launch appliance buyback and refurbish programs to extend our life cycle. Now, here we can also look at ways on how to improve our scope 3 by also accounting it well. By also, we could also have like country wise data. It is present over 3 continents. So if we have a country wise data as well, that would be beneficial for us to see which country is emitting what sort of emissions and how can we reduce. Another thing we could also do here is we could also, if we install solar rooftops and renewable energy, if we adopt, then we would be able to gain IREX. If we sell out our IREX, we will be able to get an additional income by selling out our IREX. In addition to that, we could also invest in carbon offset projects, or we could also install our own carbon sink in an area which is available to us to offset our emissions, which would also eventually help us to reach our 2050 target of net zero. That is about it. Thank you. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes.
We heard you loud and clear. Well done.
Okay.
Sorry. I went it down. Okay, so we heard you loud and clear. Good job done there. Everyone, are you observing how everybody has brought something new? And if you combine it all, you will have not less than 20 different ideas to mitigate the greenhouse gas emission from one manufacturing company. Yeah, everybody has a complete different discussion point and mood point on mitigation side. And that's the beauty of, even though the case study is same, information exactly same, but ideas can be from any side. And the people who are less confident, let's see the last person, and then I will give my final.
Sir, I'm still less confident only.
That's why I want to hear from you, and we will.
So please,
I will
I
give
really
my
could
guess.
not prepare
Dr.
well.
Neha, you give presentations every day in uni. कैसी
No,
बातें
I
कर रहे
don't.
हो
I
तुम?
only ask questions. I'm a Battami student, not a
But asking
good
questions is
performer.
also the best thing, no? You're the most
Let's
knowledgeable in that case.
You don't have to know the
let's
answers. You
hear
have to
from
ask
her.
questions.
Let's hear from her, and then
Sir,
we.
I
Okay.
really, I had surrendered when I saw Shivangi's presentation. वो बहुत बड़ा मुझे मतलब डिमोटिवेट कर देता है कि अरे शिवांगी के बाद I should run away now.
Please use
First
my
is
presentation as
Shivangi.
reference.
Huh?
Please use my presentation as reference. It hardly had
Okay.
anything.
You know what? Then after that, I realized, okay, we come from academics, so Somnath sir had helped me. I did exactly what Somnath sir has done, almost. My pattern is similar. So I'm sharing. I really, really, sir,
Please go ahead.
full day it was training, so we could not get even an exam duty, so I could not really get time. But whatever I present, I'm sharing the screen now.
No worries. No worries. Go ahead.
Everybody knows me. I come from academics. I'm a faculty in a management institute, Jaipur Institute of Management, Indore. Ours is a group institute. We have got 4 campuses, and I'm with a very good group, working with a very good group. That's what I feel. I think I would want to acknowledge. I might forget. कभी याद आ गया तो बोल रही हूँ. I was confused if I should join or should not join. I did speak with Vivek sir, and he shared 2-3 things that आप ज्वाइन कर लो, कोई टेंशन नहीं, you would realize कि आप बहुत कुछ सीख रहे हो. तो विवेक सर, ओवरऑल क्लास एटमॉस्फेयर इज वंडरफुल. मुझे एक एक हर एक बंदे से एक वो होता था कि अरे ये बहुत जानता है, ये बहुत जानती है, ये इसको बहुत मालूम है. सोमनाथ सर से भी बहुत वो होता था, तो मुझे लगा कि अरे मतलब ये तो बहुत अच्छी जगह थी. दैट आई somehow I don't know, my day was good that I could connect with you over call and you could convince me to join for this program. So I thank you. I thank all the participants. Despite all of it, I would be the worst performer. So that's all
Well,
about
fine.
me.
However, your judgment will be honest, irrespective. We have given the feedback before.
Thank you, Somnath sir, and sorry, Vivek sir.
Yes.
I could not convert this into presentation. Completely बहुत मुश्किल से किया है, और कुछ तो शायद सोचा भी नहीं होगा कुछ sections. So this is the case analysis that we were given. As we all know, this is about this company which has got headquarters in North America. These are the operations, and that is how the breakup in terms of control. Now, the objective of the company is to become net zero by 2050 with an interim target of 30% reduction in by 2030. Challenges a lot, which have already been mentioned. So these are the same which have been taken from the case study. The first step, as per the 5 steps of GHG mitigation strategy. So first is boundary setting. Since the company has presence in 12 countries, there would be issues of uniformity in collection of data. Of course, data is already not available, but even if we go for it, had it been there, methods of accounting, reporting in different countries and different continents, we already know it goes in different fashion. So it would be really difficult to go for equity based approach, and consistency and transparency principles could be compromised if we go for that. So I would advise a company to go for a control approach. Furthermore, even if we talk about equity stake, it's not absolutely clear from the given data, explicitly not known how is it divided. So yes, equity approach is just not possible. Under control approach, yes, operational control has been preferred. But still, there would be challenges related to GHG protocols, principles of completeness and accuracy principle, because the company has got a wide network, wide presence, and sourcing data from every place is really a complex task. Moving ahead, the boundaries of the company. So this is how I've decided all of the manufacturing facility. I was not even clear, but I think most of us, that manufacturing was only at North America's venue, or was it there in multiple locations? So wherever it is, whatever parts of appliances, whatever is taking place, has been considered under the boundary, including any support accessories like chargers or whatever, generators, or any support workstations that are there are a part of this boundary. Any sales, service, delivery offices, including the 100 trucks, delivery trucks are a part of this boundary. And any kind of research and development administrative offices, any other department within the factory premises or in any of these 12 countries locations will form a part of the boundaries of the company. Emission sources are direct as well as indirect. Direct, as we all understand, from its manufacturing premise, from its 100 delivery trucks. Also, all the company-owned retail warehouses, service facilities, whatever it has in all 20 countries, are a part of its direct emission. Indirect, one is from purchase of the energy, which is one indirect emission source. Upstream, next indirect emission source is complete upstream value chain, which includes raw material suppliers, processing, inward logistics from suppliers to the company, and their fuel consumption, employees commuting and travel, companies, employees, and waste creation and disposal at various stages, not only within the company, inward and outward both, logistics plus upstream and downstream, entire value chain. Same is downstream value chain, indirect emission, product distribution channel not owned by the company, which may include other distributors, which is not clear from the case, but I thought let me write at least. If at all these things are happening, then they are the part of indirect emission. Servicing facilities, warehouses, transport facilities, product use and maintenance, post-use product disposal, waste creation and disposal. So these are all part of indirect emissions. Emission calculation, I don't know if I've done it right. I'm confident little about first part, but somewhere what I did is I almost converted every data into metric ton carbon CO2 equivalent. So this is how the calculation has been done. These three elements form a part of scope 1. And so according to me, my calculation is 4190.74 metric tons CO2 equivalent. Scope 2, North America offices. Herein I converted the data from kilowatt hour to megawatt hours and finally converted to metric tons. So here I'm a little confused. Did I do wrong by converting kilowatt to megawatt, which I would want you to reflect later. And European offices, this is the data. Overall scope 2 emission is 20,500 metric ton CO2 equivalent. Asian, scope 3 is Asian suppliers. All the rest of the data that was provided is all scope 3. So the calculation has been done. Raw material was given directly. Transport as per the efficiency of the vehicles. This has been calculated and all data has finally been converted into empty metric ton carbon CO2 equivalent. Employee commuting, it is true that only 60% employees data is available and their way of commuting to respective offices. So this data is missing, but I have not done any generalization purposefully because we can probably collect it. I'm assuming that if not personal vehicles, they might be using public transport or something. So the data should be collected directly. So it should be tier 3 data. And this could be collected from those public transport and per user if they could share how much is the emission. So this 40% balance should be added to the overall emissions. Product distribution, the product use calculation is there before you. So my scope 3 total emission is 288,254.991 metric tons plus emission which should be added with the given data 40% of employee commutation. So total 123 emission for me came out to be 3,12,945.731 metric tons. The data which is missing and could not be accounted for include data of travel of 40% of employees, waste disposal of used appliances, waste at each process of the supply chain, upstream and downstream, plus manufacturing facilities. Other data is couple of manufacturing facility data is also missing. Data of promotional expenses, any digital applications, app applications, softwares, whatever the company is using, internet using. So either it would fall under scope 1, scope 2 emissions. I've written 2, it should be scope 3 as well. So they would respectively fall under these emissions and has not been accounted for. I forgot about other participants have taken as base year. Last few have taken 24. But I don't know why did I select 2022. I thought one is the answer is should not be directly given. The company should check actually how its competitors across the world are doing, and since when they started accounting, and if the company could do that, so I would prefer to go for 2022. The idea is simple: the sooner the better, because you have to create a lot of positive reputation before your stakeholders. So as soon as you do, and see, you only have to explain that you are trying to reduce your emission. So every year, a better report will definitely help company to gain more, more confidence from its stakeholders. So I thought sooner the better. That was my logic. I had no other logic to find out how to select a right base year for a company. Second reason what I felt was that because it has not started, so starting with base year 2022. Maybe would initially the time would be the initial period would be difficult to calculate everything and then finally plan for it cannot be it cannot happen just randomly changing my manufacturing facilities and so it needs some time initially, so it will give 8 years if we go for 2022 as base year. So company would have reasonable time to go down to 30% of its reductions, to reduce its reductions by 30%. And Eventually, company can also think about participating in ESG ratings to improve its overall image, corporate image, before it's all of its stakeholders. So now the calculation part, as per I went with this I projected it for first for 8 years, looking at 2030 as first of its targets. So this is the overall emission with the compound, which is compounded annually, and as per that, the company has to, as of now, start focusing on per year 14,977.758 CO2 emission should be reduced every year, a minimum. 2050, the expected emission is this as per the current rate. However, it should be low because by 2030, if the emissions are going down, so फिर उसके ऊपर next projection होगा, तो it should go low if all things are earlier calculated right. But whatever it is, taking on that side, interim target is, first target is of course 2030, long-term reduction maybe next 10 years, that is 2040. Company can go for another 40% reduction. It should be easier probably this time, and it should rather target 2047. Why I'm doing this? I'm thinking like my own country, टारगेट अर्ली का करो, फेल हो गए तो 50 तक पहुंच जाओगे, रीच कर लोगे. So 2047 company should completely become net zero and reduce the rest 30%, and rather should plan for becoming positive by 2050. नहीं भी हुआ तो zero तो हो जाएगा. So that's my thought. Okay, mitigation plans. The first and foremost, we learned in one of the classes, सबसे पहला काम करो, scope 2 के पे काम करो. So first statement I always knew कि मुझे ये लिखना है, तो वो मैंने लिख दिया है सर, कि mitigation plan should be work on scope 2 reduction completely, either by your company itself getting involved in renewable energy production can help further in long term, or if not that, then procurement. Scope 1, the company should also revisit its manufacturing facilities and identify where they can shift to better machines and processes. They can also they can study the companies in the similar industry actually, who are doing better. What are they doing? And this can always help company to make a still better strategy. And company should definitely go for product innovation, because this would always be required. And yes, innovation also would mean consuming less energy of the products. Diesel trucks should be replaced by EVs. This is the scope 1 thing the current companies processes. Scope 3, for employees, as of now, 60% of employees are using their own vehicles or cars. So company should somehow try to persuade them, all of them, to start public transportation system, or company can start a shuttle, which should be definitely either the EV shuttle or any other. Their research is going on, hydrogen and other. I don't know if something better comes up. Company should invest in those. If it could, it should invest in those. And within the company should make every workstation, whatever workstation they have defined, they should be given individual targets to develop innovative ideas, and they should target emissions as much as possible. It could be monthly, every quarterly, that they should come up with the ideas and cut down. And if they're able to cut down their emissions, even by usage of electricity, then they should be given some incentives and they should be appreciated on the common forums. थोड़ा funny लगेगा, but more my internal and external stakeholders speak about my policies in public and on social media and such channels, more I would gain traction, attention, and I might have a better image overall in the market. So that was the thought. Now talking about scope 3, another part, most important, very, very important, that's the upward and downward stream. I went by the example of Apple. Apple has that clean supplier energy program, something of that, which Apple does boast about. So wherein Apple has done the same, that it has made it kinds of mandatory for its suppliers to align their projects or their whosoever is supplied to, that they should start following. They should also start getting into mitigation and shifting to better processes. So same like this, the company is a big company, so it can definitely should invest in suppliers and as well as the downstream vendors. It should first start with the training programs, and eventually it should help them to pick up better strategies and in terms of accounting, as well as how they can cut down on the emissions. So ideally, the company's emission plans, companies ETMI's emission plans should also converge with the suppliers and vendors to make it a true net zero company. So there has to have a plan for all the some plan for all these upstream downstream things. Product distribution should mandate all of its same use of solar or any RE based energy consumption. It is a part of overall plan. Waste management should work out a plan for with all of its suppliers as well as downstream distribution channel to mitigate waste. First is not to even create waste. Prefer, or maybe if any of the packaging or such material could be reused, recycled, on how we can cut down on everything. It should sit together with the suppliers as well as with the uh, matlab, forward value chain, how they can usually cut down on all of it. Also, companies like electronic appliances, they do, it's a small thing, but I don't know if it does contribute, that they make a lot of flyers and all promotional materials, product literature, training material, all using paper and all that. This can be completely digitized, and as much as possible at every step the things should be cutted. Customers, they should educate customers in proper, this is all I'm borrowing from other companies ideas, I believe. So it should educate its customers in proper usage of the appliance so that the emissions could be emitted. And for that, again, it can incentivize its customers to a certain extent. Minor incentives would make the customers happy if they use the appliance judiciously, like if they quickly switch the power off as soon as the use is over, or and if they could calculate how much they have saved doing this practice, and if they could do this again on social media or any, and if they get the appliances timely maintenance thing done, this would definitely help in lower emission. And if the customers would themselves note this down, and company can give them some tracker sheet or some template, and they note it down, so involving them in the process of responsible usage, and and if the customers voice the same, this will be a wonderful company's promotion. So it's a win-win thing for both. And next is, yes, circular economy. So proper mechanism of buyback the appliances as soon as the life products stipulated life is over. And on that, company can give discounts in second purchase to the buyers, which would help in proper end of life disposal. The company has to do that disposal, and it would also help in better customer relations, because the company is taking into account all of its customers' efforts to make a greener planet. I'm buying these ideas from some of the companies. The company should also try to arrange green finance for itself, and can also help its upstream and downstream value chain partners in accessing the same, so that they all can move to better practices as desired by ETMI. And also the company and its value chain partners, I don't know, but if they could, it can educate and they could participate in carbon markets to source funds, because they'll be shifting to better ways. So they will be earning carbon credits some or the other ways. So, to make a win-win thing for all of its value chain partners, including company internal and external streams. That's all. Could not do much on this carbon thing and carbon CCUS and all. That's all from my side.
Okay. It was so bad that I was actually about to sleep. Correct, everyone?
कोई problem नहीं.
Yeah, that was the scale we should rate now.
It was so long,
Vivek sir,
7 pages.
actually,
Every class, I have one person who will cry throughout the class. And when they present, then they go in depth like this. Okay, Somnath ji, what's your opinion now? Actually, you did the standing ovation before she started only, right? I hope he's
She's
there.
like one of those class toppers who's like, मुझे नहीं आता, and then always does
I
the
was
best kind
about
of
to
thing.
say the same. जो टॉपर्स होते हैं कहते हैं कि मैंने कुछ पढ़ाई नहीं की है.
And she was telling you, right? After Shivangi, I want
नहीं
to
सर,
tell you.
शिवांगी तो मतलब हर बार ही ये बंदी बहुत ही अच्छा प्रेजेंटेशन बनाती है. अंशिका, all of them, बाला विजय, मैं कहा भाग जाओ यहाँ
So
से.
did you?
Sir,
Of course,
honestly, they did.
you could not did the presentation. That, by the way, even Bala has set the threshold for presentation specifically in terms of how to present the GHG report. So it started from there. So presentation, everybody did well. Okay, so this is a good stuff, Megha. Dr. Megha, you have covered at least the mitigation in depth. You have gone and taken extra effort to explain why you are taking, and actually that's the feedback for all. That let me start from there. So I have actually 5 feedbacks for all of you, right? Everybody did the justice given the time they have or got it, right? Both side. But all of are professionals. So if we are not getting time, of course we will never get time. But you spared 11 days, right? Every day coming and spending your literally tired time, right? You were supposed to be with your kids, friends, family, or in your bed, or somebody in office. But you took that 2 hours extra every day. That effort itself shows that you are dedicated towards something better in your life and as well as in your career. So it shows that everybody is dedicated here. And that's why you made a right choice, doctor, coming here and interacting with people who are equally interested in something which is making difference in their world, in their career, as well as overall our planet Earth. Now, coming back to the feedbacks, most of you has done really great job. Of course, there are some here and there in calculation, the way you have assumed certain part of it, and that's the individuality. If everybody does the same thing, then our chat GPT is the best one, right? It will produce every time the same result. But why there is a difference? Because somebody has a different opinion on certain fact. For example, 3 things which I saw, everybody got it differently. And that was one was, of course, presentation. Everybody has a different approach to present the same topic. How many of you have agreed that you have seen in every presentation, it was completely different? Somebody started with geography, somebody started with, potentiality coming from the scope 1, 2, 3 categorization. And somebody came up with, a thought process of giving the context to what they were talking about. You agree or you want to speak, doctor?
No, I got late in giving my yes to
Okay,
your
okay,
previous
fair.
question.
So now my point was that was point number one. Point number two, which everybody got differentiated and may need to. That is why this session is very important. And I prescribe everyone that even though you could not attend my 8 days, 9 days boot camp, attend the presentation. You won't believe your learning today is 10x than what I have taught you. Now I can say I have done my justice to my boot camp delivery. Without this, I am not able to justify myself. And you don't know how many requests I made to Dr. Megha, Ravi, Anshika. Means there were few who voluntarily did it well. Few I have to convince or talk through the point of view which you might be realizing now after listening to others. You did a great job as well, given the limited time. You don't know how well even Somnath or uh, Kailas, I was expecting little more, so I will be little angry with him because last session I know how he did it. Not little happy about it. Okay, so first feedback that everybody has a different approach to presentation, right? Everybody has a different approach to presentation, but 3 presentations are nearby to what we do in our corporate world. So I'm not saying that others have not done justice. Other also have tried their way of doing it, and every individual I respect. In my team, there are 8 people, right, Anchika? You met all of them, and everyone has a different quality of doing, pitch decks and valuations and calculations. I appreciate all of them, but point here is I also tell them that these 3 are matching the client requirement, and those are first of all Ravi. Okay. He started on right footing by saying that, look, this is not my presentation. Always do that in your life. What he said, anybody recall? Please recall that. What did he say when he started his presentation? The template he has used is GHG protocol. Correct, Ravi? You use the GHG
Yes, sir, absolutely.
shoulder to fire the gun. So that was one presentation where you should reflect that you are aligning with the industry. Okay, try to do it. It doesn't mean that other 2 people also who has ranked top. One was, tell me who was the best presenter, or you think it was near to industry level. Presentation wise, not content wise, I'm asking. I'm first asking presentation wise. So you guys tell me. Let me go one by one. Anchika, post in chat box, whom you thought was most corporate eligible presentation. Take a name. Okay, Anchika is typing now. Second, I'm going to Shivangi. Apart from your Shivangi, tell me who did a very good presentation. You can unmute yourself. No need of writing. Okay. Now names are coming. Okay. Apart from her, she has given a name. Okay. Somebody has given a name as well. Dr. Megha also has given a name. Anchika also has given a name. Good. Yeah. Anchika missed one. But okay, let me take what Dr. Megha said. Dr. Megha, whom you thought has done a good presentation? Tell me the names.
So all.
Okay, all. So I will take the name.
But
You do not want to be in
but
that book.
maybe as of
I
now,
will do
maybe
it now.
Bala Vijay and Shivangi, I would add.
Absolutely. These are the three. Anchika did justice, but
Hmm.
Anchika, you would have put those 5 principles and 5 steps in the play and would have worked like a charm. You missed that. Calculation tables means you are just missed by 2 basis points. Okay, that's why I'm taking your name specifically and telling everyone. So presentation wise, if it is near to industry standard, it will be Shivangi, Ravi, and Bala Vijay. They are very near to the industry requirement, very near, exactly similar approach. If I have to do presentation now, I do not do such kind of presentation. My team does for GHG specifically, or you guys will be doing some point in time when we get larger jobs. At that point in time, if you are using a template, these mixture of these three, you can always take. I'm not saying who is good, who is bad, presentation wise. Now comes the third part, which is content wise. Now, content wise, what we need to be careful about is 3 things. Your opinion has to be sharp and exactly uh, uh, to the point, sharp and to the point. However, I want to add one industry term. Most of you, except few, one person I categorically will take name is Somnath ji, who was quantifying everything along with Shivangi. Both of them has done that, means of course I see when Bala did it, I saw Anchika did it. They did the calculation. But apart from doing the calculation, even in mitigation, and Somnath ji mitigation was without, and most of yours, except the last presenter, who had a reason behind each of their mitigation action. Don't do ever this mistake if anybody has done that. Any recommendation, like Somnath ji has made a very good recommendation that DRV, right? Somnath ji, you said that.
Yes.
Absolutely, that's the recent development in this area. CCUS, Bala Vijay said, absolutely, that's the required area. But quantify it and give a rationale like Dr. Megha did it. How many of you agree that that gives a confidence in her speech, as well as the reader thinks she has really worked hard. Apple का example देना had changed the game for me. Up to there, I was thinking, okay, ठीक है, एक और हमारे पास हमारे दोस्त हैं कैलाश जी, right? Up to Apple, the moment she brought it in the play Apple example, she has reflected, she understood the topic, and she is referring to something which is very concrete. However, of course, Apple doesn't have manufacturing all across world. Here it was, right? It was in Asia, it was in 80% in US, etc. So that is the game, a different game where you need to be a little cautious about geography, which Anchika said very clearly. Anchika game was changed the moment on the first slide itself, that and the last slide when she was talking about mitigation, where she brought in that geography information, if it could have been countrywide, 3 बेनिफिट होते हैं उसके, आप ध्यान रखिएगा. अभी आप जाओगे आगे प्रैक्टिस करने तो 3 उसके एडवांटेजेस होते हैं ज्योग्राफी के. पहला, आपको मालूम चलता है कंप्लायंसेस क्या क्या है वहां पे. What kind of compliances will be working in favor of me? बहुत बड़ा एडवांटेज होता है कंपनी के पास अगर कंप्लायंस के थ्रू कुछ रेगुलेशन करने पड़ रहे हैं, क्योंकि कंपनी को कॉस्ट नहीं लगती ना, फिर वो तो उनकी रिक्वायरमेंट हो जाती है. तो जो सस्टेनेबिलिटी ऑफिसर है उसको बड़ा अच्छा लेवल प्लेइंग फील्ड मिल जाता है. वही आदमी अगर यूएस में करने गया तो आज उसको कोई सपोर्ट मिलेगा? वो यूरोप में बड़ा ही आराम से कर सकता है, क्योंकि कंपनी इज फोर्स टू कंप्लाई। दे विल सी कंप्लायंस का पेनाल्टी। यहां तो उसको अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलने वाली है, राइट? वट एवर ही विल से, पीपल विल टेक इन हैंड। वही सेम कैन आई अप्लाई टू यूएस? आई कांट। कैन आई अप्लाई टू कोस्टारिका? आई कैन। क्योंकि वहां पे भी, बिकॉज ऑफ द केस स्टडी विच यू हैव लर्न, कैलाश है कि नहीं, वहां पे आराम से आप इंप्लीमेंट कर सकते हो, कितना भी
Yeah.
स्ट्रॉन्ग सिस्टम हम लोग लेके जाएं। क्यों?
The government and the public also, they also agree. They also help. What do
पब्लिक
you say?
पॉलिसी है, सब्सिडी है, इंडिया में सब्सिडी आने वाली है। ऑटोमेटिकली दिस विल बिकम, यू गाइस विल बी द, क्या बोलते हैं, कैंडी ऑफ द, क्या बोलते हैं उसको, आई कैंडी
Eye
ऑफ,
candy.
आई कैंडी ऑफ द अर्थ। ठीक है। और इस दो चार हैं, चलो कोई नहीं। पॉइंट ये है कि these kind of pointers are very important. So next time when you look into mitigation, look with, first of all, quantification मिसिंग नहीं करिएगा। अब सबके में मैंने देखा वो थोड़ा सा मिसिंग है। क्यों कर रहे हो, एक रीजन भी देना चाहिए। वहां पे अंशिका का स्कोप 1, 2 एंड 3 का सेग्रीगेशन 2-3 आदमी लोगों ने किया। आई रियली लाइक दैट वे, कि आपने उसको सेग्रीगेट कर लिया, रवि ने भी सेग्रीगेट किया था। एंड देन यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट कि मैं पहले चाहता हूं, और सबने बोला एक बात, बहुत अच्छी बात है, कि कुछ चीजें देखो, जो चीजें कॉमन है ना, दैट इंडिकेट्स दैट यू मस्ट डू। क्यों? क्योंकि सब करेंगे वो। जो चीज अनकॉमन है वो आपकी क्रिएटिविटी है। जहां भी आपको लगा ना कि आप डिफरेंट हो गए हो थोड़ा, आपकी वो क्रिएटिविटी है, वो आपको लाइफ में, करियर में हेल्प करेगी। और जो चीजें कॉमन है उसको कभी लाइफ में मिस नहीं करना। क्यों? क्योंकि दैट विल बी बेस लाइन। ठीक है। तो जैसे 2024, मेघा वाज आस्किंग दैट क्वेश्चन, एवरीबडी टुक एज ए, नॉट रिसेंट वन, मोस्ट ऑफ you have taken. Now tell whoever has taken 2024, what was your reason? Somnath ji, why did you took 2024 as a base year? If you can unmute yourself.
Because recently data are available. That is why data availability is the main criteria to me, and that is why I have taken 2024. And I assume that in 2024 all the operations are running.
Yeah, even they were reporting 2021. That's why 21, 22 and 23 was asked. So that was an indication. Of course, सारा डेटा इसमें प्रोवाइड करूंगा तो आपको 4 दिन लगेंगे सॉल्व करने के लिए, एक दिन में थोड़ी होगा एक्सरसाइज। So I cannot provide that data, everything. So please understand, it is a case study which you are supposed to present in 7 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes. नहीं, 2 घंटे लगे हमें। So point ये है कि जो एवरेज होता 6 मिनट, और 60 मिनट में हमारा ये सेशन खत्म होना चाहिए था, गिवन दैट एवरीथिंग गोज अकॉर्डिंग टू द प्लान। बट हुआ नहीं, नो प्रॉब्लम। पॉइंट ये है कि 2024 में, जैसे सोमनाथ जी ने बोला, एब्सोल्युटली ये रिसेंट डेटा अवेलेबल है। आपने ऑलरेडी 2-3 केस स्टडी पढ़ी जिसमें देखा कि उन लोगों ने अपना बेस ईयर शिफ्ट किया। रीजन क्या था? एनीबडी रिमेंबर व्हाई दे हैव शिफ्टेड देयर बेस ईयर, स्पेसिफिकली इन द केस ऑफ यूनिलीवर? कैन समबडी रिकॉल?
I think they found better, more accurate information for that to calculate.
Which information?
They got better information and accurate information for certain things. So
नहीं नहीं नहीं, एक और पॉइंट था जो क्रिटिकल है यूनिलीवर के केस में।
Maybe joint venture.
Joint
Maybe
venture could be a
joint venture.
reason. Very good. Joint venture could be a reason. But apart from that, they have written very clearly one statement saying that, look, AR6 we wanted to adopt. And in 2023, we have changed several methods. हुआ क्या? AR6 of IPCC AR6 data has published earlier, but to adopt it, you have to do a change retrospectively, which I indicated yesterday as well in DEFRA class, right? कि DEFRA में होता क्या है कि वो साल के, अभी जून में उसका रिवीजन होने जा रहा है। आप अगर अभी उसको यूज करोगे रिपोर्टिंग के लिए, तो प्रॉब्लम कहाँ आएगी कि आपको नेक्स्ट मंथ में अगर आप पब्लिश नहीं कर पाए अपनी रिपोर्ट, तो योर होल कैलकुलेशन विल गो रॉन्ग। आई नीड टू पिक दिस, and because questions are also there, so you can revise it, you can practice it if you think that area is big. Otherwise, I think you all are ready now to get launch. Yeah, fine ages में थोड़े issues हैं। थोड़ा सा इशू है कि आपको प्रैक्टिस नहीं किया है आपने, तो उसके लिए देखो, आप एक बात और बताता हूं, जिसने वो 6 क्वेश्चन किए, 6 क्वेश्चन, जैसे कैलाश ने, कैलकुलेशन आपका रॉन्ग नहीं होगा. So go and practice that 6 question and the previous case study. Okay, it is recommended. इसीलिए मैं वो भी बोला था, वो आपका इंटरमीडिएट में मैंने डाला था. I knew people are busy, they are literally tired, they are attending my session. That is, I should be happy about it. But मेरी एक्सपेक्टेशन थी कि आप 1 घंटा और उसमें लगाते. ठीक है. This is all my feedback. Today was not my day, it was your day, and I am very happy that each of you have justified your own investment which you did. However, I would love to hear from you as well. What we will do another session on Saturday. ठीक है, जहां मैं दोनों पे आपको फीडबैक दे दूंगा. मतलब ऑफ कोर्स आपकी सबमिशन आ जाएगी मेरे पास, तो एग्जैक्ट बता सकूंगा कि कहाँ पे आपका इशू आ रहा है, आ, और आपको क्या फिक्स करना चाहिए. मुझे भी पता रहेगा थोड़ा बहुत, तो मैं आपको बता दूंगा. आपको पता जरूर चल जाएगा आफ्टर यू गिव द एग्जाम. एंड देन वी विल हैव अ फीडबैक सेशन फ्रॉम यू वेयर आई वांट टू लिसन फ्रॉम यू. दैट्स माय रियल फीस. The fees which I have charged, tell me, have I not justified? Anyone, if you can say that, I'm ready to return your money today itself. I'm really honest about that. So go ahead. This is your chance to get your money, whatever you have paid for it.
Buyback.
हाँ, बाईबैक है आपका. बाईबैक का अभी भी है, और वो भी 10 सेकंड का है. अगर आपने हाँ नहीं बोला तो क्या हो.
No, sir, we are good people.
नहीं, आप नहीं होगे तो भी मुझे फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. मेरा अर्निंग तो आप क्या फीडबैक है. ये
नहीं सर,
पैसा मैं जो चार्ज करता हूँ वो कुछ नहीं
नहीं
होता,
बिल
टीम को भी नहीं जा पाता है, उनके लिए भी पूरा नहीं पड़ता है.
just for a joke I said this.
ठीक है. नहीं नहीं, आई एम हैप्पी दैट यू गाइज हैव लर्नड. And seriously, I'm impressed with this batch as well. The way you guys have presented was good. The previous presentation also was, most of you who has done was industry standard. Okay. Few of you have missed. I really didn't like it. Don't miss it ever. Such kind of opportunity you will never get. Why? Because you are getting people who are, जैसे मैं लेके आया था, he is worked for 40 year in total, 20 year in sustainability. And he was impressed with whomsoever presentation he has seen. Whatever feedback he gave was honest feedback. उसको कुछ लेना देना ही नहीं था राजा को, right? But he came, took his efforts, sat with you guys. So whoever has missed that opportunity. That's how I see. मतलब वो आपका पैसा वेस्ट हुआ है उस दिन का. मुझे ऐसा लगता है. आपको लगा नहीं लगा, दैट इज अप टू यू. सो नहीं करना चाहिए. दैट्स माय ओपिनियन. And all of you are eligible for working with me, being with me, coming into our diamond program, looking into how it works, right? What we do there, how consultancy services being discussed. So all that is open for you. But Saturday we will meet. What we will meet is, we will meet little late, 8 o'clock, because I have a session that day. We are starting a new session. So I will add you there so you can meet new other 10 people, 15 people, whoever are there, new faces. You will get introduced. You can showcase what you have achieved. Of course, I will give feedback, so they will also know who did how. And mostly positive one I talk, negative one you will get in your results. Okay. So, and I expect you also talk about positive as well as negative. I expect negative. Why? Because then that is my improvement. My payment is your positive, and my improvement, which is a second payment, because next person, whoever will attend as awareness session, will get benefited. So with that, I will stop today. I don't expect anybody to speak good, bad, ugly, because you are also in emotion. You did really well. I think you should go back to your kids, family, and tell them that you have achieved something really big in presence of people who are of eminence. All of you have done something good in your life. Then only you are looking something for planet. आप ये नहीं जानते हो कि आप टॉप 10% में अभी हो. आपको ये नहीं मालूम है आप अभी टॉप 10% में हो, क्योंकि 10% ही जनता है हु इज इवन अवेयर अबाउट सस्टेनेबिलिटी एंड हाउ इट इज चेंजिंग लाइफ. होंगे दो चार इधर परसेंट, कोई स्टैटिस्टिक्स दे सकता है, नहीं सर 20% है, वो दे सकते हैं. बट दोज आर पीपल स्टिल आर देयर फॉर मनी माइंडेडनेस. आप लोग नहीं हो, क्योंकि आप तो दूसरे सेक्टर में काम कर रहे हो, राइट? आप अगर सस्टेनेबिलिटी में काम भी कर रहे हो तो उस लेवल का नहीं कर रहे हो जैसे रवीज थे. ऑल दीज पीपल आर, दे हैव ऑलरेडी अचीव्ड इन देयर लाइफ एनफ, एंड नाउ दे आर स्टार्टेड थिंकिंग अबाउट देमसेल्फ while thinking about the planet. So you are in 10%, and in front of that you guys have performed, so really done well. Yeah, I am happy. एक एक वर्ड सबसे सुनूंगा. स्टिल आई वांट टू हियर समथिंग गुड. सो एक एक लाइन, एक एक सेंटेंस, ज्यादा नहीं, एंड वी विल रिटायर. कैलाश, एक्सपीरियंस एंड व्हाट्स योर फीडबैक, क्विक, एक लाइन में.
I am always grateful for whatever I can learn because this is what I want to do in my life. I mean, you know this. So I've been wanting to get into this for a long time, and I'm just extremely happy for myself that I can do it somehow. I just hope to work in that field soon enough. So
For sure, for sure. Thank you. Somnath ji, one line.
It was a very good learning experience for me. And my heartfelt gratitude to you uh, for the, again, I say, for your tireless effort for the past 10 or 11 days. I have started my journey that for 2 days
Patient,
master
yeah.
class, I think.
Yes.
Then the whole week. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Sir, if you are saying, I'm humbled. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Ravi.
Sir, I think it was somewhat like excellent session. So as you know, I was like mentioning to you
Indeed.
something which goes beyond finance, so which we do day to day. But I think the kind of tools that you have shared, especially in the 2-day boot camp, was really a sort of like eye opener. So very good uh, documentation and especially case studies focus was something which was great.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Shivangi.
So, sir, I think I'm the youngest here. But I'll be getting the direct benefit from this course. Apart from it was very interesting, but I'll be getting direct benefit as I am working on a project right now that is related to GHG calculations and ESG reporting. So that is one thing, and I'm like I just want to say thank you to everybody because I got to learn something from everyone, including obviously sir you and everyone else. So it was a very great experience.
See, at least one breakthrough is there. She is working on something which I'm teaching and she can use it. I'm really happy. Thank you. Bala Vijay.
and I'm very jealous about that.
Uh, it was actually it was a very wonderful session, sir. A very knowledge, no, I got a lot of knowledge. I am the youngest in this field among all that. Talk of me,
All
like
of, all
the
of.
day I joined, I told you like I don't know anything, but today I'm like, oh, I'm doing a case study means all is because of you, sir.
And you
Being
won't believe this case study. If I have to do in your side, I would have taken months and months. Yeah, as a consultant. So you guys have done today, you will realize little later when you will start working in this field, like Shivangi is doing. That जो आपने achieve किया है आज, it takes time for consultant to even pick it up and understand to that depth and give advisory. यहाँ तो data ही नहीं था. So well done. Good job. Thank you. Who is last? Who is left? I didn't took name. Dr. Megha, of course.
सर मैं पहले ही बोली
ना फिर से सुनेगा. एक लाइन फिर से बोलना पड़ेगा.
सर as like all yes मेरे जितने inhibitions थे doubts थे they all rather got very well cleared. I was speaking with one of my friends today while coming back and she asked अरे कोई भी ऐसे तुम प्रोग्राम ज्वाइन कर ली मैंने कहा मुझे नहीं पता but I think अच्छा दिन था कि मैंने ज्वाइन कर लिया. I was telling her the same thing and I rather said told her कि टाइम मिले तो बताना I will guide you where to join. You join मतलब we do joint researches more on corporate governance but it is all data based and just doing some analysis data lessons. So I said मौका लगे तो बताना I'll guide you where to join and sir many a lot positive points. Of course, whatever we learn from you, plus repetitively we learn from you,
Yeah.
plus you also sensitized. I'm a little emotional person overall, so you sensitized us again that we have to be ethical and we also have to adopt. matlab we have to really live by example. So that was an inherent learning that I kept on learning throughout all of your sessions, and probably that also kept me intact. मैं बहुत आलसी हो गई हूँ सर ओवर द पीरियड मुझे पढ़ना पसंद नहीं है अभी से बोलना पसंद है, क्लास में जाके बोल दो। बहुत कम लोग मुझे
आप
एक दिन आई स्लेप्ट वन डे स्लेप्ट सर इन बिटवीन। आई डिड नॉट रियलाइज कभी उसके बाद एक कोई टाइम नहीं आया कि मतलब मुझे बहुत नींद आती, मुझे बिल्कुल नहीं आई। दिस आई डोंट नो हाउ वुड यू फील बट
No, no, I feel very happy. I know what you do throughout the day, getting accreditation, doing evaluation, the pain I know, and still you are able to sustain for that 2 hours such a topic which is technical. It is, I am making it simpler, right? But it is a technical topic. You cannot, can you not, can you make any mistake in the calculation, Shivangi? अगर पावर का 6 नहीं करके आपने पावर 5 कर दिया गलती से सीएजीआर के कैलकुलेशन में, विल यू बी हियर और यू विल बी आउट ऑफ कंपनी whom you are working with?
आउट ऑफ कंपनी।
It's out of company.
सो ये पॉइंट है। तो इतनी टेक्निकल चीज है कि अगर मैं बहुत टेक्निकल उसमें चला जाऊंगा तो भी आप बोर हो जाओगे, और नहीं जाऊंगा तो आपको गेन ऑफ नॉलेज नहीं मिलेगा। सो if you got benefited and you didn't sleep any of means throughout my session, I can expect you guys can sleep. You, Somnath ji, even Shivangi, Anshika, who is working, right, who is working live, और रवि तो मतलब I really appreciate him. आप मानोगे नहीं रवि से आज मैंने कितना, Ravi, tell me what was the episode? Where were you and why did you join? And you didn't leave. The best part. ये 10 मिनट के लिए आ गए था।
नहीं, आई केम अर्ली सर
नहीं, आप आने
बिकॉज
वाले थे 10 मिनट के लिए, राइट? कि मैं आऊंगा, प्रेजेंटेशन लेके जाऊंगा और अपना ऑडिट
yeah, of
कंप्लीट
course
करूंगा।
I no no because I was interested to see others also slides उनका क्या ये है because
उनमें ज्यादा मजा
like
है, right?
आपके बाद yeah
वो सबसे बड़ा बेनिफिट और लर्निंग है। आप मानोगे नहीं, वो 10x लर्निंग है। जितने लोग हैं ना उतना x है वो। सो थैंक यू वेरी मच डॉक्टर मेघा फॉर मेकिंग माई टाइम वर्थ। मेरे लिए भी सेम सिचुएशन है, दिन भर का काम करके, वो भी इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग का काम करके इस सेशन को आके लेना इज अ चैलेंज। बट आई लव दिस सब्जेक्ट एंड आई लव पीपल लाइक यू who take that risk, who take that risk, and some of you I know has tried several places before. मीन्स मेरे पास आप जाके पीछे का फीडबैक देख लोगे, अतानु करके थे, उन्होंने 10 कार्बन अकाउंटिंग प्रोग्राम ली। क्यों? क्योंकि ही इज इन दैट फील्ड, एग्जैक्टली दैट फील्ड, प्रैक्टिसिंग। आप कैलाश थे ना उनके साथ, जीआरआई में थे
I,
आज।
I was there and I had the same experience. I tried so many other people to do all these webinars, workshop, whatever, and they were all like, so they just looked incomplete already, and they were all always about videos and this is just talk. That's why when I first came for your session and I loved the way you, that's exactly how I like to learn. And I knew I was just scared that it may or may not be live, but when I saw it was live, it was the best thing I could have asked for. So that is the reason why I thought I could learn the best from you. So.
उसके बाद अगर कोई आप पे ट्रस्ट करे, क्योंकि एक बार ट्रस्ट ब्रेक होता है तो यू नो राइट हाउ इट वर्क्स इन अपना फर्स्ट लव के साथ अगर ब्रेक हो गया तो फिर अगला 10 के साथ भी नहीं फिक्स होता है। मतलब आज की जनरेशन की बात कर रहे हैं, राइट? उस जनरेशन में तो लोग दारू पी के मर जाता था। लेकिन पॉइंट ये है कि उसके बाद भी हमारे पे लोगों को ट्रस्ट होती है, एंड दे टेक दैट लीप ऑफ फेथ एंड दे वर्क विथ मी एंड दे गेट बेनिफिटेड। ऐसा आज तक मुझे कोई नहीं मिला जो ये बोला हो कि सर आपने मेरा पैसा लेके वेस्ट कर दिया है। अगर ऐसा कोई बोलता है तो मैं उसका पैसा सही में वापस करता हूँ, ट्रस्ट में। बिकॉज मैं उसका पैसा लेके करूंगा क्या? वो 10,000 तो whoever इज वर्किंग विथ मी नोज क्या है हमारे लिए। बट है, इंपॉर्टेंट है, दैट 10,000 इज इंपॉर्टेंट। आई रिस्पेक्ट एंड आई वर्शिप दैट 10,000। बट आई एम जस्ट सेइंग कि इतना बड़ी बात नहीं। अगर आप मेरे से लर्निंग नहीं ले रहे हो तो मेरा मेरा वेस्ट है टाइम।
सब मेरे लिए तो वो 10,000 means a lot more. You know that I'm talking in a different way,
नो
but
नो नो।
even in general, I mean, it's I don't know, I could never ask for more.
I know, Kailash. Kailash, I know what Kailash is going through, and we are trying to help him through education, through work, and anybody who can help him should help him. People like that should be our priority, who is struggling with health and wealth, because of health, wealth. देखो, आपके पास अगर हेल्थ नहीं है ना, लोग बोलते हैं ना
हाँ,
कोविड कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है। जो कोविड से गुजरा है ना उनसे जाके पूछो। मैंने अपने 2 भाइयों को लॉस किया, अपने अपने भाई नहीं, मतलब कजिन को। और मीन्स वी यूज टू हैव फाइट्स। वो मतलब मेरे फादर के साथ लड़ाई चलती थी, आप जानते हो ना हाउ इन इन नॉर्थ ब्रदर ब्रदर फाइट्स। स्टिल व्हेन वी लॉस्ट हिम इन कोविड, यू वोंट बिलीव, टिल टुडे आई मिस हिम, राइट? और ऐसा नहीं कि मैं उसके साथ रहता था, मैं तो बाहर रहता था, वो दिल्ली में रहता था। और दोनों दोनों सगे भाई आए, मेरे चाचा के लड़के थे. So whoever has made that loss because of health, they know how bad it is. Yeah. So
For me, I lost like the peak time. I studied sustainability 2013, 2015 when I finished my MBA. उसके बाद this thing has just been on the downward and it has just gone down and down, and which is COVID भी नहीं हुआ था, but I had worse during COVID. So that was, I mean, like, it's just this last around 8, 9 years have been very, very testing for me. So, and then I'm trying to get
still,
back and
and still you guys have seen his dedication, right? He's dedicated. He asks question, he never leaves. कितना भी उसको डांट दो, समझा दो, प्यार से बात करो,
sir,
मैं बताता हूँ.
मुझे सीखना ही है, and this is how I've learned. And in fact, when you told me also, like, you will help me if I show
Right.
you my dedication,
And
and
he
I knew
doesn't
I could
mind
do
it.
that, and
एक बार
I knew I
कल
could do that because I've been shouted at by professors in the past, "Oh, you're asking too many questions." I mean, I would ask because मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा इसीलिए, and I know it will help other
it's
people, and
okay.
I have always been like this. So
It's
मुझे
okay.
अपने में
No, no,
confidence है.
I appreciate. And point here is I am apologizing to you कि मैं sometimes rough हो जाता हूँ क्योंकि मैं
No, no,
trained
no.
professor नहीं हूँ. Like I will be honest, I am not
It's
a
it's
trained professor.
it's not
तो
a being
मैं
trained
कभी रफ हो
professor.
जाता हूँ. कल मेरी टीम मुझे डांट रही थी कि सर मेरे को काटना पड़ रहा है क्योंकि वो सुबह में काट रहे थे एंड दे वर लिसनिंग कि थोड़ा मैं रफ हूँ. तो मुझे होना नहीं चाहिए लेकिन मैं कैलाश के साथ ग्रांटेड लेता हूँ बिकॉज वी हैव अ बॉन्डिंग. ठीक
Yeah,
है.
please do. I mean, I have no problem at all, and because I like that because at least I get to learn whatever it is. If you find a mistake, you tell me straight. So that's also how I will learn. So मुझे उसमें बिल्कुल problem नहीं है, and I understand because I compete with myself more than anybody
ज्यादा टाइम
else.
नहीं लेते कैलाश.
Yes,
एवरीबडी,
sir. Yeah, I know. I can go on
फैमिली मस्ट
talking.
बी वेटिंग.
Yeah.
8 to 9 we will have that time on Saturday. थोड़ा सा आदमी रिलैक्स रहेगा. We'll spend together. एक मीटिंग गेट टुगेदर होगी. And I will also brief you guys on the how you did, what you did. You will be able to meet other people as well, and that will be a kind of another networking. So welcome to that session. And with that, we end our 10-day, 11-day, whatever days journey we had. I liked it. Hope you will like it. And if you like it, we will see you on Saturday. Take care. Bye bye. See you.
Bye. Thank you, sir.
Bye bye, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Sir,
Bye,
where do we
sir.
have to
Thank you,
submit
sir.
on the group itself? Where do
नहीं
we
नहीं,
submit?
आप
No,
ग्रुप में भी
DM.
दे सकते हैं. ग्रुप में भी दे सकते हैं. देयर इज नो प्रॉब्लम. यू कैन सेंड मी प्राइवेटली इफ यू थिंक योर डॉक्यूमेंट इज प्रोप्राइटरी टू यू. इट्स अप टू यू. और यू वांट टू शेयर विद अदर्स, प्लीज डू.
सर मैं सबसे भी रिक्वेस्ट कर रही हूँ, प्लीज आप भी शेयर कर सर ग्रुप पे भेज
If they give it, it is their choice. Yeah, I have no problem. Please do it because other
एंड
people
सर
also will review.
मतलब
No, I will
wanted to
share.